You have said that the sex energy is more useful inside the body than outside the body. Is this an anti-sex viewpoint?
Well, it could sound like that. But where is the sex energy? Okay? And then where isn't the sex energy, for the most part? See? And so when we're talking about sexual neuroses, then it's really about the sexual energy being stuck in the body. And not really free to do what the sexual energy is for, which is to recreate the body. See, not knock the body out, but wake the body up. And people usually use sex to knock themselves out, whereas the yogis use the kundalini energy, the spinal energy, to wake themselves up. It's about your understanding of where the energy begins, ends, or may be stuck in your body or released from your body. In terms of the chakras, could be just the aura of your presence, rather than just a pain in the groin, to be relieved through intercourse, right, or ignorant intercourse, right, to waste the body, right, to empty the body, and that needs to negate the body.
You said earlier there is sexual intercourse without the body. Can you comment on that?
Well, this reflects on the first statement. Where does the sexual energy begin or end? And what could be its ultimate purpose? Is it really just for release, for insemination, for ejaculation, or is it really something which is supposed to be used to provide individuals with a different level or class or experience of energy? What happens when that energy is brought to the head, see, or brought to the heart, above the groin area? And so it's a matter of whether or not people have intelligence enough to feel that what they have is creative energy, and they need to determine what the best use of that energy is relative to the body and relative to nobody. See? So the energy of the spiritual current is the energy of no body, yet without it you wouldn't have a body. Yeah. So the energy of sex, which is the creative energy, is all pervasive. Again, we are part of not only our relational or familial energy, but we're talking about the Earth's energy primarily. We can also extend it to the sun's energy, and the burn and the heat that we experience is verily from the sun. The sun generates the heat as sunlight and as the psychic tension that we live from as sexual beings in need of release. But we don't really need that release except in the very beginning of evolution. You reach a point where the energy is able to, or is cultivated to be able to rise to the heart and then go up higher than the heart, and that means you have access to the higher chakras, see, and different but more enlightened, healing experiences of that energy, right, which then becomes pure healing energy rather than released energy that leads to exhaustion, and in many cases it leads to a lot of neuroses that has self as its creator and not anything more than that. Self-suffering, and we're not questioning the beauty and the purpose of the sexual conduction of energy. We're talking about the higher purpose of the creative energy, as healing the body as a whole, and then healing the world as the place for the best use of let's say, the service that is generated in terms of the goodness that you feel and the selflessness that you feel in spiritual practice.
What should one do with sexual thought if they're trying to practice cultivating the seed?
Well, in the Dharma, right? Like the way. You renounce thoughts like that which are generated by the body or the mind or your karma, your blood, see, to confuse you and create neuroses, stress, and pain even relative to other self and other programming. See, well, you need this, you need the sexual comfort, and that may be relatively true, but we're talking about in those people who are moving beyond the class of ordinary beings who enjoy suffering sexual neuroses. It's a way of life for them. What you're addressing are those beings who are coming to their senses about their own, we can say, suffering of sexual emotions, feelings, and desires, and feel it's a distraction that they can't afford to have using them and taking them away from, let us say, what would be more appropriate karma for them to be practicing or generating or cultivating and using, let's say, for the better part of their life and the better part of themselves. You want to live a peaceful life as a yogi, and a humble life as a yogi. Live a more, let's say, caring life as a yogi. And not to exclude your sexual function, but to incorporate it in such a way that it's actually healing for you and serving your yogic purposes, which means your creative purposes and then your heart purposes all together.
Is it true that in all cases people need more love than sexual intercourse?
We'd have to ask, what is love? See, what is love? See, if not complete healing, complete surrender in devotion to one's deity or one's love or one's beloved, let's say, whoever or whatever that is. And the idea is to open to it, more importantly, in peace. And so the love is necessary. It's the greatest healing presence and experience the human can have, or animals can have, the living can have, or even the ghosts can have. So it's living and the dead need their love. See, they need to feel that love warmth, see, which is the healing grace of the heart working all the time on all the levels, depending on who's perceptive enough to know that and use it. We call it the love of God, we call it the love of the Master, the love of Spirit, the love of healing, see, the love of joy, the love of compassion, see, the love of goodness, and so on. Mm-hmm. So the love is most important. Even when, if people need to have their sexual, say, healing, love is more important. And when love is included in that, then it's even greater. Whatever you do with love, it's going to make it greater, see, in terms of the healing capability.
What do you say to the view that orgasm is a thrilling way to exhaust psychic and physical forces?
Well, it's true. I would say that it is true. Yeah. But we can have experiences that are also regenerative, which is more important, not just to exhaust yourself, and by that I mean release yourself, spend yourself, which most people need, so you need that. The idea is to enter a state where you transcend yourself. And if you can transcend yourself, which means also your neuroses that is self-generated, self-created, so on, then you're accomplishing something very sacred and beneficial to your body, your mind, and your need for pleasure, which then becomes more relative to bliss, fullness of the whole body. We have a continual orgasm, which is ultimate, what most people don't know they're actually searching for. Not the pipsqueak orgasm, but the ultimate orgasm of living in bliss. See? Blisters. Mm-hmm. Oh, a blister. As I have stated many times in my early life as a practicing yogi, you ain't got a chance until you keep it in your pants. And then people would say, for how long would that be? Everyone is different because everyone has a different feeling about it, a different connection or karma relative to sex and otherness and the whole process of attachment. And we're talking about sexual attachment and sexual neuroses to a degree. And so there are different stages you need to go through. Just keep it in your pants. Not so much to keep it in your pants. Keep it in your pants means to know what you can create when you are neutral and working with things that you know you need to create from that neutrality. Okay? And we're talking about high creative output, intense creative let's say, expression from neutralness. See, clear breathing, calmness, right? Which is some of the, let's say, sports legends have a connection with calm but fierce intensity. Yeah, calmness. So it sounds paradoxical, and it may seem that, but the calmness is continuous in us, and the struggle and the conflict relative to emotional roller coastering is occasional. It's sequential, based upon waves of neuroses, states of mind, and self-consciousness, pain and suffering, and so on. But the yogic basis is the already always present peace of the heart. Whether you're doing one thing or another, it doesn't matter. It's the already always state of nowness and emptiness realization, which is constant. And the more one invests in the understanding and realization of that it is reality, it's ongoing underneath the noise that our karma, self, and emotion and drama, karmically speaking, create as disturbances and disruptions in our state of peace, state of being pure light itself, which is our original condition.
You mentioned that in the beginning of life and practice, orgasm appears to have a healing function of release of neuroses. And I was wondering how that changes in practice.
Well, it changes with age in some cases. But the neuroses can disappear once you start to understand that you're free of the neuroses originally. Primordially, there is no neuroses. that we need to access the primordial fact and experience of the state and condition of no neuroses, peace, happiness, bliss, or goodness, which are all related, integrated. So it's not like we are moving forward by doing practice, in a sense. We may be moving backwards by doing practice. Because what it is always here now, present, but we are not apprehending it or digging it. We're not being able to let go of our tendencies and cling mechanisms and programs to people and things that are painful. Right? Because it's wanting and desiring, and so desire is an obstruction to enlightened being. So as we let go and breathe more openly, and so opening to this condition of infinitely vast space, awareness, the neuroses, the blood karma, the past sins, all of these things, desires, high and low, memories, they all disappear into the fire of now. Ultimate okayness. So it can happen in 2 minutes. Nobody has to wait ages because of it. You go through ages, and your concern with ages is about the it of self, and its addiction to time awareness or time programs, which once cleared enable you to rest in nowness. There's no time. There's no time. Now is no time. So even though you can say, now is the time, time is no now. No now. Now and no now. Beyond concept.
Is it true that in the case of most beings, sexual neuroses shows up as blocked creativity?
Definitely. That's and also true of frustration. That's a force which and anger, which blocks the creative. It can make you creative in a destructive way. It blocks the higher levels of creativity, which we are capable of. Selfless creativity, not just neurotic creativity relative to sexual frustration. Having to control other, which is the key to blocked creativity. You have to control someone. Rather than release yourself, you need to control someone. Rather than awaken yourself, you need to control someone, which means you're holding yourself back by holding someone else back. All things released, you have a nirvanic condition in potential. Because then you have to release releasing. And there can't be any one releasing in nirvana. It's the released, released, release. The free release. Very, very cool, yet very warm, kind, boring for most people, but for wise beings, it's the way. It's not boring. It's the way. And we can say then it's the ultimate way of peace. See? Existence. Awakeness. Realization of compassion. selfless giving, and just giving. See? Endless giving. See? Infinite givingness. See? Some say living is giving. True giving is true living.
Is it true that after sufficient purification and peace cultivation, what was compulsive orgasmic discharge transforms into continual bliss?
Absolutely. In fact, that answers many of the questions presented in this video. And this is a reference to primordial bliss, which means it's ever present. See, but under what conditions can a person experience this kind of bliss when there's nothing else in the way? This one bliss will have its way. See? The bliss of emptiness. See? The bliss of enlightenment. Emptiness. The bliss of no self, which is also emptiness. No world, no mind, which is also simply and utterly empty. Time. Over. Pierced. Beyond. Let's say Gati, gone. Gati Gati. Gati Sam Gati. Maha Gati Sam Gati. Bodhisattva. Healthy enlightened being. Yogi.